Good Thursday evening. This is Rev Pam Geagan from the Center for Spiritual Living Pleasant Valley for our Thursday night uplift. And it's lovely to be with you tonight. And if there's anything you'd like to share during this broadcast, please feel free. We would love to hear from you too, to see what you like, what you don't like, what inspires you, and what you could do without, even as a matter of fact. Anyway, tonight my talk is about turning your dreams into reality. And in the past, the idea isn't a new one. We as a human race have been doing this since the beginning of time, as we know it at least. And so the truth with the big T is that the power for good has always been here for us, expressing as us in and through us, as I always say. What we draw upon and we allow to flow through us is what ends up manifesting in our life. And so, in the end, knowing that knowledge, it is up to each one of us to go with the flow because the times they are a changing, in case you hadn't noticed. And with change comes new models on turning our dreams into a reality that works, as I would say, in its highest ideal for everyone. And no, it isn't just you. In case you were curious, the pace of change has certainly picked up. More than that, whereas we used to experience disruptions followed by periods of stability, change now is increasingly perpetual, pervasive, and exponential. Change doesn't come easily, as we all know, and yet change is all there is. I always say it's from a movie, nothing changes but the change is slick. And our Dr. Martin Luther King, who we celebrate this month, Jr., recognized this when he said, "Let us realize the arc of the moral universe is long, but it always bends towards justice." So that's what's happening to us right now. The arc, as I always say, it goes out. We go through these periods, these cyclical periods, and in that spiral, they get larger and higher and higher. But sometimes it feels like we're going through a lot before we get there. What does change and what we have to do with turning our dreams into reality is that we have charge of what we make our reality. Today, more than ever, we are being pushed to give up our small ego selves and to be I always call it the little me's and rise up to the universal cooperative calling of the we's and all the way home, as we say, we, all the way home. Today, you may think my idealism is unattainable, but it's happened over and over again in the history of humanity. So many times, those who came from the most intolerable circumstances took risks to create new visions that took them away from their tragic lives and created more good on this planet. One of the greatest examples I have is how the movies and media changed our lives and continues to change our lives. But in the 1920s, in the early 19th century, that lifted our spirits and molded our moral characters during some of the world's most challenging times. The movie and media industry in the 19th century created the compassion, desire, and reality that our dreams can and do come true. The original American makers, mainly Jews, escaped. They left a life of brutality, of repression, usually, most of them under the Russian czars. They came from small, poor villages where religion and life were intertwined. Most of them were the Jewish that were totally repressed and brutalized. These towns were alive with religion. They were alive with storytelling, theater, and humor that would eventually find their way to America and out picture onto the motion picture screens. They came to America, these people, to find their dream because America promised tolerance and economic security, and they are the ones that created the original film industry that began in the East Coast and then came out to Hollywood. That Hollywood industry and the East Coast industry is a dream dreamt by immigrants escaping nightmares in their life. Eventually, the finest expressions of European high culture, including learning, education, the greatest music and arts, and the presentation of honoring the values of the common man were projected on movie screens, huge movie screens, that people, 75% of the people in the early 1900s, during even the silent movies, they depicted these movies, all people. They, they depicted the common man, the rich, the poor, all races, all cultures, and lives. And all of the American people were privy to Hollywood because the largest dream factory in the world existed there at that time. There were gods and goddesses that were created on that silver screen. The founders put their hopes, optimism, and methodology of what a perfect life would be like, hoping they could model the same idealism that would be reflected as the will of the common man out into the world. So many famous playwrights and authors wrote it this time, like the Steinbecks, the Grapes of Wrath, and so many others, showing the plight of the common man and how the desire for something greater always manifests in something greater. And what those films did is it created a mythical America, a world ripe with boundless optimism, happy endings, and idealistic truths. From their own plights, flight, and repressions with their families that were destroyed back in Eastern Europe, they created an American fantasy version in the movies. They showed family values that were strong, indomitable, mothers who were revered, and the aspirations of youth were shown by those teenagers like Andy Hardy and Judy Garland, who proved their strength so they could uphold these strong American values into the next decades. It was an America whose citizens were industrious, religious, wholesome, and decent. And although they were made up through a diverse ethnicity and classes, all that brought them together in that common thread, they were all knitted together in that common thread with a spiritual sense of family and togetherness and oneness. The places of worships, the churches and temples, became the new religion that outpictured on the silver screen. These flickering images that they were mesmerized by. That meant going to a movie, watching a screen larger than you were, and being in awe of something that was bigger and greater than you were, and you were looking at it. And in that feeling of this hope and optimism came a certain reverence for the images. It was truly the new religion. And it was made it was made through the imagination of men who have been repressed and wanted the next the next generation to know that there was hope and good in the world. So in the 1920s, one of the Hollywood's most famous goddesses was widely popular, and she was just shown up in the new Perry Mason movie. I think it's on Netflix. It was the popular evangelist Amy Semple McPherson, founder of the International Church of the Foursquare Gospel. She opened Angels Temples, now it's way over 70 years ago, in Echo Park, in a neighborhood of Los Angeles. And that temple now has the Angels Flight streetcar going up to it, and it's still in use. And I posit that today that our dreams lie beyond the desire for luxuries from a material world. Things have changed so radically since we've been laid at the mercy of things that seem so much out of our control right now. Our greatest selves, who we are at our deepest soul levels, our deepest selves are being called to a higher universal level that honors the common good. And yet we are still being seduced by the media acted out on screens and internet, cell phones, TVs, movie theaters, and radio stations worldwide today. Who are we? Are we this media propaganda, or are we something greater? Because we're living in a new America, a new world. And in these times of COVID, out picturing the real time reality, global warming laying at our feet right now, and the appearance of warring against one another's lesser truths, and in a short sightedness of how we are connected worldwide, not recognizing that we are connected by the very breath we breathe, and the breath we breathe is that of one another. You know, long ago I learned there the same amount of water that was started in the time of the dinosaurs and before is still on the planet. I used to kid about today we're drinking the pee, the recycled pee of the dinosaurs, and the very air we breathe was the same that all the saints breathed, including Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, you name it, the poets, the mystics. It's the same breath. And so we take that into consideration to know that this is the time. And what is it time to be? To think of our changes and our dreams. It's time to suit up, show up, and waken to what our true spirituality is. It is the news. It can be the news if we continue to listen to that, and that's what creates our religion, just like the original movies did with all their idealized life stories, and how we worship, what we worship that comes in front of us is that religion. It takes the place of the divinity of who we are, the spirituality of who we are. But luckily, in these changing times, we're still at choice. We are still at choice where we place our intentions and attentions. It's time to go within, listen to that wisdom of the one soul, the great oversoul, the great beyond within our God self that recognizes that the time is now, and we are the ones picking up the gauntlet in the creation of new realities. We are the ones that are responsible to ensure that the power to create an environment that supports all life is in our hands. And we are the ones that have the power to create compassion in those hands, joy, unconditional love in all areas of life. We are the ones, and the time is now to dream the dream that Martin Luther King so eloquently spoke of in creating the realization of the arc of justice being realized. Let us realize it now. On every level today, we are being pushed to rise up, recognize our oneness, woundedness, joyousness, givingness, divinity, our holy and unholy selves, and wrap them and embrace them into creating a new reality. Today, we are the dream makers. Today, excuse me, we are the ones that have always had the power and presence within us, in us to become divinely inspired, to go with the Tao, the flow of the changes that are rapidly happening on our Mother Earth today is what will save us, not the fighting against, rowing against the stream, but going with the stream. It is not, if it's not us, who will do it? Who will create a new dream and bring that dream into reality? It is our. It is ours to do right here and right now. I don't have COVID. I'm sorry, I'm coughing. So, in your meditative moments, this is what I invite you to do. Invite the divine spirit, which I call God, love, into your soul at the deepest point to awaken you with to awaken truly the sleeping giant, the oversoul, the one that lies and expresses perfectly, uniquely in each and every one of us and each and everything on this planet. That sleeping giant lies in the great beyond within. I invite you to allow the space to listen to what is yours to do in bringing the highest and best of who you are and why you came here and bring it into reality. And as Ernest Holmes so eloquently said, this is paraphrased, that in this one creative power, this one love, when we plant the seeds into the creative soil that just says yes, we change our thinking, we change our perceptions, we change what actions we take, and we create our smallest desires and dreams and watch them become powerfully woven into the fabric of the greatest realities that have ever manifested on this planet and are continuing to manifest. We are manifesting our greatest reality and a world that truly does work for all life once we become clear and we take those powerful steps to change our thinking and change our lives and create and manifest that world that works for everyone. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you for being with me this evening. Have a blessed day. I love each and every one of you. I'll see you this Sunday with Lisa Coffee, and we'll be talking about, I'm not sure what we're talking about, but it'll be interesting and wonderful, and I invite you to join us. Mwah! Love each and every one of you. Blessed be. Namaste. Peace out. See you on the flip side on Sunday.